Welcome to the Doctor Who recap. This video series will attempt to recap every single episode of Doctor Who from the classic era, including lost episodes, to the modern era. Galaxy 4 is the earliest non-historical story to have missing episodes. The Doctor, Vicky, and Steven arrive on an eerily silent planet. The Doctor evaluates the planet and discovers that it can sustain life, but it seems to have nothing living on it. This piques his curiosity, and he is keen to investigate this anomaly. Steven is more interested in finding somewhere to swim. Just before they exit the TARDIS, the crew discover a small robot feeling its way around the ship before communicating with something else with a glowing antenna. Vicky christens the machines Chumblies. The Doctor deduces that they are blind. Once the Chumbly has left the TARDIS, the Doctor and his companions go out and explore the planet. It has 3 suns and vegetation, but, as yet, no sign of animals. Before they can get far, the Chumbly returns. The Doctor determines that the Chumblies have keen hearing. The Chumbly indicates to the Doctor and his friends that it wants them to follow it. Steven is wary. He tries to attack it. In a show of force, the machine produces a gun from its shell and sets fire to a plant. The Doctor and his companions are led away. They have not gotten far when a group of women lying in wait for the Chumbly throw a metal mesh on the machine and deactivate it. The women introduce themselves as Dravans, from the planet Drava in Galaxy 4. They say that the robots are controlled by a race called the Rills, who are not to be trusted. The Dravans say that they will take the travelers back to their ship for safety and introduce them to their leader, Marga. However, when they try to remove the mesh, they find it is attached magnetically to the Chumbly. Before they can make their escape, 3 more Chumblies appear and force the travelers and the Dravans to flee. The new Chumblies remove the metal mesh from the prone Chumbly, which reactivates itself, and they head off in pursuit of the Doctor. The Doctor, his companions and the Dravans make it to the Dravan spaceship. Marga listens to the Dravans' report, and then reprimands them for the loss of the metal mesh. It was their only weapon against the Chumblies. After Marga has dismissed the Dravans, she addresses the Doctor and his companions. She explains that the Dravans are a powerful race of women warriors who use men only for hunting. They were exploring in this part of the galaxy when their ship was shot down by the Rills, though they managed to shoot the Rills down as well. They are desperate to get off the planet because the Rills have informed them that the planet will explode in 14 days. Their plan is to capture the Rill ship and escape. Steven is suspicious of the Dravans. It seems to be they who are in the wrong rather than the Rills. His position is strengthened when Marga reveals that the Rills have offered help, but the Dravans have refused for fear of being killed. This story is interrupted when Chumblies approach the ship. The Dravans attack them, and the Chumblies deactivate briefly, but then go on their way. Playing on the suspicions that Steven has roused in the Dravans, the Doctor says that he is a scientist. He will learn if the planet is to explode in a fortnight, and see if the Rill have been misleading the Dravans. The Dravans agree to this, but demand one of the TARDIS crew stays with them. They insist that this is not a matter of hostages, but to have fewer unaccompanied people wandering the planet. Vicky volunteers to stay and the Doctor reluctantly assents. When the Doctor and Steven arrive at the TARDIS, they find a Chumbly trying to break the TARDIS's force barrier. Steven and the Doctor hide until the Chumbly leaves. After unsuccessfully trying to break into the TARDIS, the Chumbly gives up. The Doctor and Steven enter the TARDIS, where the Doctor consults his astral map and finds the planet doesn't have a fortnight until its destruction, as the Dravans thought. It has only 2 days. Tomorrow is the last day this planet shall see. The Doctor and Steven decide they must leave immediately, save Vicky and warn the Dravans. However, the Chumblies return, this time with heavy explosives. It does no damage to the TARDIS. After they leave, the Doctor and Steven race back to the Dravan ship. In the Dravan ship, Vicky is fed up with the food and is worried about her friends. However, Marga refuses to let her leave. When Stephen and the doctor get back to the Draven ship, Stephen points out it is made of a metal that the Chumbler's ray can penetrate. The doctor ponders why the Chumblers have not destroyed their enemies. Inside the ship, the doctor hides the truth from the Draven and again tries to convince them to befriend the Rills and work together. Marga rejects this again. She grows suspicious of the doctor and pulls a gun on him. Under this threat, the doctor admits they have only 2 days. He offers to bargain with the Rill for a peace treaty. The Draven agree, but retain Vicky as an insurance policy. Stephen offers himself as a hostage. Vicky and the doctor leave for the Rill ship. Stephen tries to create disharmony between Marga and her minions. Marga overhears this. She tries to convince Stephen to pilot the TARDIS with the Draven. Stephen refuses, saying that even if he wanted to, he doesn't know how. He is left alone and falls asleep. Trapped by a Chumbly patrol, the doctor and Vicky are forced to observe, note, collate and then conclude their routine. Vicky decides to test a theory by throwing a stone behind the machine. The doctor is annoyed, but she states that she thinks the Chumblers can detect only what is in front of them. They conclude that they can follow one back to the Rill ship rather than wander aimlessly. Back at the Draven ship, Marga orders her soldiers to break into the Rill spaceship and wipe them out for their ship. By this time the doctor and Vicky are at the Rill compound. It has a drilling rig and an air purifier. The doctor is impressed with the Rill's handiwork. The doctor and Vicky explore the compound cautiously. Vicky remarks that she can smell ammonia. The closer they get to the compound center, the stronger the smell. They arrive in what appears to be a repair shop for Chumblers. As they look around, a large, scaly creature appears at the window. Vicky screams. The doctor and Vicky try to escape the Rill center, but they are pursued by 2 Chumblers. An iron gate then falls, separating the doctor and Vicky and leaving the latter trapped in the Rill center. The doctor decides the best way of disarming the Chumblers is by tinkering with the apparatus that converts the air into ammonia. He assumes the Chumblers need the ammonia. Whilst he wrecks the gas converter, the Chumblers catch up with them and indicate they want Vicky to come with them. The doctor relents, saying it will give him time to vandalize the converter. Back at the Draven spaceship, Marga shares her frustration with the other Draven warriors. She says they are useless at strategy and all they are worried about is killing. If the doctor and Vicky succeed, she will steal the Rill ship and leave the Rills and the humans on the planet to die. She orders the Dravens to patrol the perimeter, leaving one to guard the sleeping Stephen. She does not know Stephen was awake the whole time and has been listening to her. At the Rill center, the Chumbly prods Vicky to the window where the creature appears. A voice comes from the Chumbly, telling her that the Rills control the Chumblers. At first, they are hostile to Vicky. However, they learn the Dravens have been lying to her and tell her the real story. The 2 spaceships met above the planet in a standoff that lasted 4 days. Finally, the Rills tried to leave, but the Draven ship fired on them. The Rill ship returned fire and both ships crashed. The Rills tried to speak with the Dravens. They found an injured Draven, whom they tried to help, but Marga found them and chased them off with a gun. She then killed the wounded Draven warrior and blamed the Rills. Vicky realizes the Rills are not the enemy. If they cannot bear the planet's atmosphere, the doctor's tinkering will kill them. She runs to stop him from destroying the gas converter. At the Draven ship, Stephen slowly raises himself silently from his bed. He sneaks up to the guard and renders her unconscious. He takes her gun and tries to leave the ship. However, as he goes, Marga comes up behind him. He finds himself facing a Chumbly. He tries to turn back, but the Dravens are pointing their guns at him. He is trapped in the airlock between the ship and the outside. Marga gives him an ultimatum. He can surrender his gun and return to the ship, face the Chumbly or suffocate, as she drains the air from the airlock. Stephen is left to think as the air leaves the room. Vicky gets to the doctor before he can break the system. Vicky explains the situation to him and they both go to the Rills. The doctor tells them their escape is at risk. The planet will explode before they expect. Although the Rill ship is fixed, they don't have enough fuel. The doctor says he can help them with metal cord cable and a sort of jump lead that he has in his TARDIS. The Rills are happy to hear this, but the Chumbly outside the Draven spaceship tells them Steven is in danger. The doctor and Vicky rush to his aid with two Chumblies. They are stopped by a Draven warrior who thinks that the doctor has betrayed them. Vicky tries to convince the warrior that the Chumblies are under their control. The warrior tries to shoot the Chumbly, but Vicky disarms her. The Draven begs to be killed for her failure. The doctor says no one will be dying on this planet anytime soon. At the spaceship, Steven decides he would rather face the Chumbly than return to the Dravens. He tries the door, but it cannot be opened. Steven struggles for breath. There is no time to spare. A Chumbly shoots an ammonia bomb into the Draven spaceship and fires its weapon at the airlock, freeing Steven. The Dravens flee and are met by a horde of Chumblies. The Rill tells them for all these years, they have been pacifist in their dealings with the Draven. Now that they have threatened to kill Steven, they will be killed in return. The Rill orders the Dravens back into their ship. If they are seen on the planet's surface again, they will be killed. Inside the ship, Marga blames the Draven who was on patrol for their predicament. She will pay the ultimate price when they have more time. Marga lays out her plan to destroy the Rill ship. In the Rill ship, the doctor puts the finishing touches to his plan to give a jump start to the ship's engine with his TARDIS. He leaves Steven to recover in the Rill center whilst he and Vicky return to the TARDIS to link it to the Rill ship's engine. Alone with the Rill, Steven expresses his doubts about the benevolence of the Rills. He suspects that if the doctor cannot fix their ship, the Rills will not let them go. The Rills say they would let the doctor go. They have no knowledge of conflict and would rather have a life saved than kill someone for no reason. Steven apologizes for his skepticism. On the other side of the planet, one of the Dravens sneaks up behind the Chumbly guard and destroys it. The Rill is told the doctor has hooked up his TARDIS. Steven is nervous. He is sure the ship will not be powered up in time. The doctor and the Rill assure him they can complete the process before the planet explodes. A Draven burst into the Rill center. Before she can do any damage, a Chumbly paralyzes her. In the aftermath, Steven and Vicky look for the doctor. They find him in the section of the Rill center with the Rill, where they were not allowed before. The doctor invites them in, and the Rill gives them permission to enter. At first, shocked at their ugliness, the humans come to an understanding with the Rill. They bid each other farewell. Meanwhile, the Dravens wait outside the Rill camp. They fight off an army of Chumblies to get close to the Rill ship. They find that their weapons are useless and decide to rush the ship. With the ship ready for flight, the Rill sends a Chumbly to escort the doctor and his companions to the TARDIS. The TARDIS travelers watch as the Rill ship flies off. Nearby, the Dravens despair as their chance of salvation disappears into orbit. Marga catches sight of the doctor and his companions. The Dravens pursue them to hijack the TARDIS, but it dematerializes before the Dravens reach their door. Seconds later, the planet explodes, destroying the Draven soldiers and Marga. Back on their travels, the doctor and his companions lament that they have had precious little time for peace and quiet recently. Vicky looks at a planet below and wonders what might be going on there. On that planet, unbeknownst to the travelers, an astronaut named Garvey has awakened in a dense jungle, remembering only that he must kill.